Ever get that feeling that who you are, on the surface,
Mhm.
it isn't the full story?
Mhm.
Like there's a truer, maybe more vibrant version of yourself just kind of waiting to be remembered.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's the kind of territory we're exploring today on the Deep Dive. We've got some really fascinating material. It's from a conversation with Bashar, channeled by Daryl Anka.
Right. This was featured on the Path to Enlightenment YouTube channel.
Yeah, and the title alone kind of grabs you, doesn't it? The Greatest Secret, How to Awaken Yourself Fully.
It definitely does. And for you, our listener, the learner, we know you're here to get informed, to sort of connect the dots quickly, thoroughly.
Right.
So in this deep dive, we're really zeroing in on the core of Bashar's ideas about, well, unlocking your true self, the powerful role your beliefs play.
Huge role.
Yeah, and his perspective on the very fabric of reality. Our aim is to give you those key insights without getting bogged down in, unnecessary complexity.
Yep.
Exactly. Our mission is pretty straightforward.
Hmm.
Let's unpack what Bashar has to say about remembering who you truly are, understanding the immense power of your beliefs, the ones you might not even realize you're holding on to, and getting a handle on his unique take on existence.
Okay.
Okay, so the conversation we looked at, it kicks off with someone describing this incredible sense of flow, right? Like being exactly where they needed to be, almost like the universe was, I don't know, conspiring in their favor.
Right, and Bashar's take on this is really interesting. He talks about us all being part of this current in creation.
Current, okay.
What's fascinating here is this idea of an inherent momentum to life, kind of unique to each individual. Bashar suggests that by tuning into what genuinely excites you.
Not just passing fancies, though.
No, exactly. Not fleeting whims, but your deeper passions. When you do that, you naturally align yourself with this current. Think of it like a river.
Yeah.
You move most effortlessly when you go with the flow, right? Instead of paddling against it.
Makes sense. And the result of this alignment, he says, is synchronicity. You know those moments where things just seem to click?
Oh, yeah.
Where the right people, the right opportunities, they just show up at exactly the right time.
That feeling is unmistakable, isn't it? Being in that sweet spot.
Totally.
And from that idea of flow, the conversation naturally moves to the big question we all grapple with.
Yeah.
How do we tap into that deeper real self? Bashar actually lays out a kind of formula, a set of principles.
Yes, and at its heart, it's quite elegant, really. Simple but powerful. The key components are, first, act on your passion. Whatever truly excites you, do it to the best of your ability.
Okay, passion first.
Second, and this is crucial, let go of the need to control the outcome. You got to detach from a specific result. Focus on the doing.
No insistence, he says.
Exactly. No insistence on the outcome. And third, strive to maintain a positive state as much as you possibly can, regardless of what's happening around you.
Okay, so passion-driven action, non-attachment to the outcome, and a positive state. How do these ingredients help us remember who we are at our core?
Well, if we connect this to the bigger picture, Bashar explains that consistently following this formula essentially raises your overall frequency.
Frequency. Okay, explain that a bit.
Yeah, think of frequency here, maybe metaphorically, like tuning a radio dial. When you're dialed into a higher frequency, you're more receptive to clearer signals, right? To higher levels of information, intuition. This expanded awareness, in turn, leads to a deeper understanding of yourself, your potential, your place in the larger scheme of things.
Oh, okay, so it opens you up.
Exactly. He even suggests that many of the questions we have about life can actually be answered just by consistently applying this instruction manual.
The manual being passion, non-attachment, positivity.
Right, that core formula.
It sounds almost deceptively simple, though, which, makes you wonder why we stray from it so often. Why do we feel so disconnected sometimes from this real self he talks about?
That raises a really crucial point about the influences we experience as we grow up. Bashar highlights what he calls societal training.
Right.
The fear-based beliefs that are often subtly, and sometimes not so subtly, instilled in us from a young age.
Like what kind of beliefs?
Oh, things like, I'm not good enough, I don't deserve abundance, or I'm not powerful enough to create change. Those kinds of limiting ideas.
That's like we're running software loaded with limitations.
Yeah.
He even points to, well-meaning sources,
Yeah.
right? Parents, friends, school.
Exactly. He suggests that while some of these beliefs might have had a perceived protective function in childhood, maybe encouraging caution or conformity.
Yeah, be careful, don't stand out.
Right. but they become outdated and really restrictive as adults. The challenge is to recognize that you might be carrying around these old programs, these other people's belief systems, he calls them.
Baggage.
Yeah, basically baggage that doesn't actually align with your authentic self and how you prefer to be. It's like carrying a suitcase full of someone else's unwanted clothes. It just weighs you down.
That's a great analogy. So how do we rummage through that suitcase? How do we identify the stuff that isn't ours? How do we pinpoint these limiting beliefs?
Well, Bashar's advice is pretty direct. You have to consciously bring these fear-based negative beliefs into the light of your awareness.
Okay, shine a light on them.
Exactly. And when you really examine them, when you subject them to like logical scrutiny, he says they often appear utterly illogical, even nonsensical.
So they don't hold up under questioning.
Pretty much. Think about it. Where's the real hard evidence that you're inherently unworthy? Usually there isn't any solid proof. It's just a feeling or an old idea. And once you recognize this fundamental lack of logical basis, the belief essentially loses its power. It starts to dissolve. It's not just like agreeing intellectually. It's a deeper realization of the belief's emptiness.
That resonates. If you can truly see something for the false premise it is, it loses its grip. But Bashar also cautions that sometimes these core negative beliefs are buried, right, under layers of other beliefs, like an onion.
Precisely. He emphasizes the importance of persistent self-inquiry, of peeling back those layers until you uncover the foundational belief that's acting as the root cause.
Find the root.
Yeah. Addressing that core belief can then create a cascading effect, allowing other related negative beliefs to crumble more easily.
And what does he identify as a really common fundamental negative belief, the bedrock of so many of these limitations?
According to Bashar, a very, very frequent underlying belief is some variation of "I'm not worthy."
Oh, the worthiness thing, yeah.
But then he offers this really powerful counter-perspective. It's grounded in the very fact of your existence.
How so?
He argues that if you exist, if you are here, part of creation, then by definition you must be worthy of existence. Because, as he puts it, creation doesn't make a mistake.
Wow. Okay, that's a really direct and potent thought. Just being here equals inherent worthiness.
Exactly. He goes on to explain that believing you are unworthy is essentially arguing with creation. You're fundamentally disagreeing with the very nature of reality.
And that's a losing battle.
It's a battle you're inherently going to lose, yeah. He further reinforces this by pointing out that non-existence, by its very definition, doesn't exist. Therefore, you cannot actually become non-existent.
Right. You can't not be.
Which further solidifies the inherent value and worthiness that comes simply with being.
So, okay, if we accept that we are inherently worthy, then what's the point of it all? What's our fundamental purpose here?
Bashar offers a refreshingly simple answer, actually. Your primary purpose in life is to be you.
Just be you.
Just be you as fully and authentically as you possibly can be. Now, while this purpose can manifest in an infinite number of ways, through your work, your relationships, your creativity,
Sure.
the core is simply being true to yourself. He suggests that the majority of the pain and struggle we experience arises from trying to be someone we are not.
From conforming or living up to those old beliefs.
Exactly. Conforming to external expectations or those outdated belief systems we talked about.
And the reward for embracing our true selves. What happens when we do that?
Effortlessness, joy, creativity, love, fulfillment, basically, all the good stuff that naturally flows from aligning with that innate guidance system of being yourself.
Back to the flow.
Right. It circles back to the idea of going with the flow. And he clarifies that surrender in this context isn't about passive resignation or giving up.
It's not weakness.
Not at all. It's about trusting the inherent wisdom within you, the natural control that comes from being in alignment with your true self, surrendering to the flow, not giving up on it.
He even uses a really helpful analogy to explain the role of the ego in all this. He compares it to a diving mask.
Yes. I love that analogy. He says the ego, or your physical persona, is designed to help clarify your experience in this physical reality.
Like a mask clarifies vision underwater.
Precisely. It's a tool for focused perception here. However, it's not meant to be the one dictating your actions or defining your worth.
That's not his job.
Right. That guidance comes from your higher mind, your intuition. The ego simply allows you to experience this physical dream, as he calls it, with greater clarity. But what happens if you try to use a diving mask to breathe air above water?
It doesn't work. It's restrictive.
Exactly. It becomes restrictive, limits your ability to function properly. Similarly, when the ego tries to take over the guidance of your life, when it oversteps its function, it can lead to limitations and suffering.
The physical dream. He actually states that this physical reality we experience is, in a very real sense, a dream being experienced by our spirit. That's a profound shift in perspective.
It really is. He emphasizes that at our core, we've never actually left spirit. That is our fundamental state of being.
We're always connected.
Always. He suggests that individuals who achieve profound levels of enlightenment, like Jesus, for example, understood this deeply. They were able to expand their consciousness beyond the perceived limitations of the physical form because they knew it was, in essence, a projection, a dream.
And he implies that this level of expanded awareness isn't exclusive,
Right.
not just for a few historical figures.
No, he suggests we all have the potential to tap into it. He references the biblical idea of, you will do greater things than I.
So it's like we all have this latent capacity within us.
Exactly. Now, the conversation takes an interesting turn at this point. Someone asks about energy vortices in Europe.
Ah,
So this shifts our focus a bit from the inner landscape of self to the energetic landscape of the planet itself.
right. So moving from our internal world to the external environment. He mentions things like stone circles,
Yeah, as significant markers of high energy vortices.
places like Stonehenge, maybe?
Could be. And what's intriguing is the idea that many significant structures, even entire cities, might be strategically located on these energetic hotspots. Maybe consciously, maybe unconsciously.
Oh, interesting.
Bashar offers the example of Paris. He suggests that the Eiffel Tower actually sits at the center of a powerful vortex there.
Wow, okay. Paris.
He proposes that humans are sort of instinctively drawn to these energetic locations, and this may have influenced where civilizations developed, where important monuments were built.
So these vortices are like concentrated points of energy.
Yeah, think of them as concentrated points of energy flow in the Earth's energetic field, maybe kind of like acupuncture points on the human body.
And it's not just human-made structures pointing them out.
No, he also points to natural formations like mountains. He specifically cites Mount Vesuvius in Italy
Vesuvius, wow.
as a natural indicator of a strong energy upwelling and vortex.
Okay. So where else in Europe does he mention?
He goes on to list a few specific locations known for their potent energy. Crete, especially the ancient Temple of Knossos.
Crete, okay.
The Basque region, spanning parts of Spain and France, which he connects to lineages from ancient Atlantis.
Atlantis connections, interesting.
England, famous for its crop circles, which are often associated with unusual energies.
Right, the crop circles.
And the Isle of Man, which he links to the opening of mystery, suggesting it's a place where the veil between dimensions might be thinner.
It's almost like a hidden map of energetic power points across the continent.
Kind of feels like that, yeah. And he encourages listeners to trust their own intuition and senses, their own attractions, to discover other such locations.
So pay attention to where you feel drawn.
Exactly. He even uses Sedona in Arizona, and its Bell Rock Formation specifically, as a kind of familiar reference point for understanding what a vortex might feel like energetically.
Okay, so that provides a tangible comparison for people who might know Sedona, helps ground the idea of these energetic centers.
Right. Then the conversation transitions again, this time to a listener's experience with a specific energetic system they called Mara consciousness.
Mara consciousness. Okay, what did that involve?
It sounded quite detailed. It involved aligning various energy centers within the body, the pineal gland, the heart, the base chakra, and also connecting what they described as crystals within the blood and glands with energetic counterparts in the earth, the sun, and even the great central sun.
Wow, that sounds like a very intricate, personal, energetic practice. So the listener was asking if they were missing anything crucial.
Yeah, basically checking if their understanding was complete. And Bashar's response was quite insightful, I thought, and very practical. Instead of suggesting additions or making it more complex.
He suggested simplifying.
Exactly. He encouraged the listener to examine each element of that Mara consciousness system and ask themselves, does this truly resonate with me? Does it feel fully aligned? Is it effective for me?
That's a really interesting approach. Sometimes streamlining is more powerful than adding more layers, even in spiritual practices.
Totally. The listener specifically mentioned the concept of crystals in the blood as something they didn't feel a strong connection to.
And Bashar's take.
He basically validated that feeling. He suggested that if an element doesn't intuitively make sense or doesn't yield a clear energetic benefit for the individual, it might be perfectly acceptable, even beneficial, to just release it.
Let it go if it doesn't work for you.
Precisely. He uses the term permission slip. The ideas and beliefs we use to allow ourselves to experience something. He emphasized that a more streamlined and personally resonant permission slip can be far more effective than an overly complex one that doesn't fully click.
So examine the parts that feel unclear or forced.
Yeah, and consider whether to maybe merge them with other concepts that do make sense or simply let them go entirely. Simplify your own system.
Makes sense. The final part of our deep dive today touches on a question about the death of layers of consciousness or ego. This is a recurring theme, isn't it, in many spiritual and self-improvement teachings? The idea of killing the ego.
It is, and Bashar offers a clear, maybe more nuanced perspective on this. He states pretty directly that the core ego structure, our fundamental personality, is intricately linked to our physical form.
So you can't just get rid of it while you're here.
Basically, no. He says it cannot be completely eliminated until physical death. However, the key isn't elimination, but learning to experience the ego in a neutral way.
Neutral ego.
Yeah.
How does that work?
It means understanding its original intended function. Remember the diving mask.
Right, the tools for navigating physical reality.
Exactly. Understand it as that tool rather than being dominated by what we often call the negative ego. The critical, fearful, limiting aspects of our personality.
So the goal isn't annihilation of the ego, but rather achieving a healthier, more balanced relationship with it, using it as intended.
You got it. He revisits the diving mask analogy right there. The ego is a tool for experiencing physicality, not the director calling the shots. That role belongs to our higher consciousness, our spirit. And he returns again to the concept of physical reality as a dream, reminding us that our true underlying nature is spirit. He explains that individuals who achieve those profound states of being, like the entity we know as Jesus, did so by fully surrendering to their greater self, understanding this fundamental truth of their spiritual nature.
And that expanded their consciousness.
Right. It expanded their consciousness beyond the perceived limitations of the physical. And again, Bashar suggests the same potential for expanded awareness resides within each and every one of us.
Okay, so, wow. Well, let's try and quickly bring it all together. We've dived into this idea of aligning with your natural flow, your excitement, and the synchronicity that follows. We explored Bashar's formula, that instruction manual for remembering your true self through passion, non-attachment, and maintaining a positive state.
Yeah, the core practice.
We looked at how limiting beliefs are often learned, often illogical, and how bringing them into awareness can weaken their hold.
Especially that core belief about worthiness.
Right, we discussed that fundamental feeling of unworthiness and the really powerful counter-argument. Inherent worthiness simply through existence itself. You exist, therefore you're worthy.
Can't argue with creation.
Exactly. We touched on the core purpose of life being refreshingly simple. Just be yourself authentically. And how surrender isn't giving up, but actually a form of innate control, going with your inner guidance.
And the ego is that tool, the diving mask, for the physical experience.
Not the boss.
Yeah.
And the whole concept of physical reality is a kind of dream and our potential, everyone's potential for expanded consciousness.
And finally, we ventured into the realm of energy vortices, those hot spots in Europe, and the importance of personalizing and streamlining our own energetic practices or permission slips.
Yeah, making them work for you.
So understanding these concepts, it really offers you, the learner, a powerful framework for examining your own path of self-discovery. Maybe take some time to reflect on the beliefs you might be unconsciously holding.
The stuff in that suitcase.
Exactly, and reflect on the profound implications of your inherent worthiness. Consider how you might more consciously align with your passions and release that need to control every single outcome.
Yeah, definitely food for thought. And on that note, here's maybe a final thought for you to consider. If, as Bashar suggests, physical reality is akin to a dream, and you are fundamentally the dreamer, what kind of dream are you consciously choosing to cultivate, knowing that you are inherently worthy and have that potential for limitless creation?